Welcome to the show, everybody. Joseph Robert, the Fantasy Football Counselor. We're talking early top 10 running backs for 2020 fantasy football. And I'm doing the podcast with you guys, the listeners, Council Nation, trying to get everybody involved, keeping it real with you guys. So what I'm going to do is go through the show as per normal with my top 10 running backs and have you guys chime in on some of the picks, open discussion a little bit. So everybody's currently muted. We'll do kind of like a hands up system. And then when you guys put your hands up, I'll kind of have you guys come on and discuss those picks. I love the top 10 running backs, guys, because, this is the bread and butter, man. You got to load up on those RBs because that is a position that's a little more scarce. You want the volume. You want guys that are in a minimal committee, and you got to get them early because if you don't get them early, guys, I'm sorry, they're going to be gone. So I've got a top 10 list here that's, again, going to stray away from the mainstream. Adjusting the camera there, stray away from the mainstream, and it's not going to look like your typical list. And I don't try to do it to be different. What I try to do is I try to accommodate for what the changes are going to the changes that are going to happen. So looking at last year's list, we had Saquon, Zeke, CMC, Kamara, David Johnson, Connor. Now this varied, when it got to 6 and 7, depending on which magazine you're reading or whatever. But again, Saquon, Zeke, Christian McCaffery, Kamara, David Johnson, James Conner, Melvin Gordon, Aaron Jones, Le'Veon Bell, Nick Chubb. As you know, guys, David Johnson coaching thing, he fell off. My mistake. Take credit for that. Conner, we saw what happened there. Big Ben kind of screwed to injuries. Melvin Gordon, he fell out of the top 10. Le'Veon Bell, I warned you guys against him. So again, the list that happens, the way that it looks right now, the top finishers aren't going to finish on top again. It happens every year. So you got to accommodate for those variances, and that's what I do. So again, I'm not just trying to be different. I genuinely feel that there's other guys that can emerge, and I try to fit that instead of just doing what the mainstream does, which is what you're going to see. So let's start off with the list. I'm going to go from 10 all the way down to 1. So coming at number 10, and again, I'm going to have you guys weigh in after I do this. I'm going to go back and open it up here into the wide view to open everybody up here, and we'll put our hands up after this. But I'm going to go with Joe Mixon here, and this could vary. I'm torn at number 10. I could have went Aaron Jones, Miles Sanders, who I think could break the top 10 predicated on no one else coming in. So I got Aaron Jones, Miles Sanders. I was debating. So I put Mixon in there because, again, finished 13th in fantasy last year in PPR, 278 attempts. I'm only imagining they're going to improve the O-line. Maybe Burrow's going to come in. Whoever's going to come in there at quarterback could be an improvement there. Hopefully they get the receiver situation figured out. So I think Mixon could have a better year if he stays healthy. But I also want to make a note and a disclaimer before I start this. I think a rookie can easily slide into the Fantasy Football 2020 top 10 running back list. Jonathan Taylor, Swift, Dobbins, and I want to get your feedback. So let's start off with the number 10. Again, some of you guys may have this guy, lower on the list, higher, whatever you want to call it. Aaron Jones, Miles Sanders could be there. So I'm going to open it up, guys, to hear from some of you guys. You want to put your hand up on my number 10, Joe Mixon. What are your thoughts? Jimmy, you want to unmute yourself and have a talk here?
Yeah, I got to tell you, I agree that you got Mixon this low. He's currently ranked as the 6th or 7th running back off the board. I think that's way too high. The combination of the poor offensive line of this team, which they did nothing to address in free agency, not a thing, is a big problem. And then you throw in a rookie quarterback, just throwing him right into the fire. I'm telling you, man, it spells trouble for me. I would have him actually ranked probably a little bit lower because of that.
Fair enough. I like that. Now, if you guys haven't followed Jimmy, give him a follow. He's a friend of mine. He's out here grinding in the fantasy football industry. We'll shout you out later there. All right. Anyone else want to chime in on the number 10 pick with Mixon? Do you guys agree, disagree, looking for some debates here or non-debates? All right, let's hear it. Gridiron, unmute and please go ahead.
Yeah, you got me? You hear me?
Yeah, I got you. We got you.
Beautiful. I like Mixon. I'm one of the guys who's going to have him even higher. I look at the way he finished the season with the last 3-4 games where he put up numbers. I know they were trying to get in position to take that number 1 pick, so they utilized him a little bit more. But Derrick Henry did something very similar the previous year where he had a big finish to the year and then he kind of went off the following year. So I'm thinking with Mixon, they get Jonah Williams back on the O-line next year, who was their first pick from the previous season. So I think that'll help out a little bit there. And then, again, with the draft, they have the 33rd pick too, so maybe they go O-line after Burrow, and it helps him out.
Cool. Do you want to let everybody know who you are and kind of what you do as well?
Yeah, so I just started an account on Instagram, Gridiron Gods, with a cousin of mine. So he's like my partner in crime with this. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and we've been doing a little bit of podcasts as well. So we have 2 episodes out currently. You can find them on Spotify.
Good, man. Hustle, grind, go for your
Yeah.
passion. Definitely want to stick with it. And that's what I want to do. Honestly, when I first got started, nobody, gave me a platform and stuff like that. So I want to try to give as many people platforms as I can, and something you guys can springboard and get a little bit of momentum going, because it's a little bit, it's harder. It's a harder barrier of entry now. I got in when it was, there was like when I came up with my name, Fantasy Football Counselor, I was like, okay, what a weird name. Now there's like a fantasy football dentist now. There's like a fantasy football social worker. It's crazy, man. It's gotten kind of completely out of hand, but I kind of started that trend in regards to having these names. And I thought counselor was really weird the time I trademarked it and came up with it. So thanks, man. Appreciate it. All right. So that's who I got at number 10. Let's move on here. And again, Aaron Jones, Miles Sanders, just to let you know, they're not higher up on my list. So they fall out of my top 10. Aaron Jones can easily crack the top 10. Love him. I think the talent is there. I just think they're going to throw more. He had such a pinnacle year. Again, he could crack the top 10. Some injuries in the past. And again, I think they're going to throw more. We could discuss this in open discussion. By the way, at the end, guys, we're going to have an open discussion. We get to talk about this. So if there's anything that anyone I left out, you guys can chime in. Also, guys, if you're listening, make sure you guys are smashing that thumbs up and leaving a comment with your questions below. I'll try to get to as many people as I can. And again, disclaimer, guys, this is the early top 10. I find that my list kind of falls into play a little bit better after that NFL draft because the depth charts start filing in, okay? So coming in at number 9, I know a lot of people may disagree with me here. They're a little bit like, I don't know about that. I feel uncomfortable. Understandably so, because the guy has been a little bit banged up with the knees. But I got number 9. I got Todd Gurley. Listen, the guy is a touchdown machine. Finished 14th last year amongst running backs in PPR, 12 touchdowns. So we know he's going to get the touchdowns. Freeman is gone. He's on the Falcons. And I genuinely believe my heart of hearts that, I think the Falcons need to win. They need to go all in. They've got the talent. Ridley and Julio, special talent. Ryan, he's getting older. He's got to get something going here. He's got to win a Super Bowl here. So I think they're going to utilize Gurley. And as you guys saw down the stretch, the Rams weren't utilizing Gurley when they started to realize, oh, shoot, we got to use this guy. Then he started, kicking it into high gear and became the Gurley that we saw. So I'm comfortable with him at number 9. Again, a little bit hesitant, obviously, because of the arthritis. But again, I'm totally comfortable with that. So I'm really curious to hear you guys, again, what are your thoughts on Todd Gurley at 9? Let's hear it from you, Zachary. Can you unmute and let's hear it?
I don't have Todd Gurley on my list. I think the arthritis just worries me too much. So I wouldn't put him on the list. I mean, he could go off. He could have a great season, but I just think it's too much risk to kind of put him in the top 10.
Yeah, I got to argue with you because, again, you're going to get the volume. You're going to get the volume. I
understand that.
Unless they draft somebody else that's a stud, I doubt they're going to do that. They believe in Gurley. But, again, good point, and I like to hear your opinion. But I genuinely feel he's going to get the volume. Again, the arthritis definitely a concern. Anyone else want to chime in on Mr. Gurley? Anyone else? We're going to move on. Oh, here we go. We got MGT. What's going on?
What's up? Yeah, I think this is a good median spot for Gurley because I think his ceiling's probably around the 6th or 7th back. Right. And then the floor is probably around the 13th to 14th, which would be if Ito Smith, he's pretty talented if he got the Malcolm Brown type of role. Right. But I think this is actually a good spot for Todd Gurley.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Again, I don't expect everyone to agree with me. I totally like a little bit of debate here, but I like Gurley at 9 because, again, you only have a handful of running backs that are going to get that volume. And again, he is talented for sure. All right. So moving on here, I want to move on to my number 8 pick. And again, this guy always finishes in the top 10. I understand he's not a full true and, workhorse because he's always going to be complimented with a complimentary back, but I got him at number 8. He finished 9th last year. 81 receptions are what I'm expecting out of him every single year. I mean, 5 rushing touchdowns last year, I believe he had. Alvin Kamara. I mean, this guy, talent. I mean, the ceiling is there. I don't know. Where is he going to finish? Could it be 8th? Could it be 11th? Could it be 6th? Could it be 3rd? I still think he stays in the top 10. He's been proven to us every single year. He's a top 10 guy in regards to finishes. So he's got to stay there, especially in PPR. Again, consistent with around 80 to 90 reception range. I feel comfortable there. And again, the volume and attempts won't be there. I'm expecting 180 to 200 attempts. But again, you're going to still get that solid PPR production. Really curious to hear anybody chime in on Kamara. Oh, it's Mr. Jeff Clark, a.k.a. Denzel Washington. What's going on, man?
Yes.
First of all, leave a comment below if you think he looks like Denzel. What do you guys think? A young Denzel.
Not with this haircut. But anyway.
All right. Let's hear it, Denzi.
I'm probably one of the few guys that actually drafted Kamara as a rookie.
Right.
This guy is too large of a part of that offense to not be in the top 10. Rarely is, injury prone. He has little nicks things here and there, but that's about it. But he's too big in the pass game, too big in the run game. He is a weapon that Sean Payton will always use. Sean Payton always has guys. If you go all the way back to Marcus Colston, he always has a guy that he keeps in the mix, and Kamara's that guy. That's pretty much it.
Jeff, can you just tell everybody how we kind of met and what you do? You've got a great product here. And again, this isn't just to promote people. I genuinely met these guys through the industry. So I just want them to, if they got a business, why not shout it out? I want you guys to tell, fellow entrepreneurs what you do.
Appreciate it, Joe. I have an app. It is for fantasy football. It lets anybody have their own press conference. So if you kill somebody that Sunday and you want to put them on blast, you use the app. You have a background, step and repeat. It looks like you're being interviewed by the media. Put it up on Instagram, whatever social media you use, and just basically explain your views, explain your team, explain why you love fantasy football. That's what I love about it. And Joe, you're doing a great job. Keep doing it, man.
Thanks. I appreciate it. We're going to get you probably in the QA. What's the app called? How do you find it?
It's called Media. It is in the App Store, and it's also on Google Play. Media with 2 E's.
So Media what? Just how do they find it? Media what? What's it called?
It's Media with 2 E's. That's all it is.
There you go. Sometimes I had to find you sometimes on Insta. I put Media with 1 E, and I couldn't find you. Remember the 2 E's.
The 2 E's. That's it.
All right. Is there 2 E's in Denzel, or I think it's only 1 E, right?
Just one.
Denzel. All right. I think there's 2 there. All right. So that's who I got at number 8. Number 7. All right. I'm ready to hear it. I'm ready. I know Jimmy's getting ready to jump on the mic here. He is ready to see his eye. Hold on, Jimmy. Look at him. I can tell he's ready to rip into me. But number 7, a very angry chip on his shoulder, got a lot to prove in a situation where he can be a workhorse, has proven it before. Number 7, David Johnson. Or what do we? Hold on. What are the reactions like here? I'm comfortable with David Johnson, guys. I really am at number 7. I think he's going to eat Carlos Hyde. Didn't do anything last year. He had over 245-ish attempts. Jimmy, just get on here. Let's hear you. Come on. Hop on.
Look, okay. First of all, he's 29, which for me is over the hill for running backs of any kind. And secondly, he gets a downgrade in the offense. Man, he's going to Houston where they don't have Hopkins anymore. So they're going to be able to key in on the run game. That's specifically him. Now, I think he will be a decent flex option later in the draft, when you can get him. But top 10, no way. I don't think it's going to happen.
I gotta admit, this is scary. I'm not gonna lie, because I'm the guy that says stay away from running backs that go on new teams. I'm the one who preached no Le'Veon Bell. He was a product of the system going to the Jets. And yes, a bit of a downgrade in the offense. No receiver to stretch the field. Possible stack boxes. He looked sluggish last year. I got to see how much they address the wide receiver position in the draft. That's got to be a big thing for me. Now, they do have Cobb. I'm not excited about Cobb. I think they just acquired him. So, again, yes, there could be trouble here. Now, again, if you guys follow my strategy, we're going robust RB. So if you get David Johnson, you're not going to get him probably in the first round. You may get him in the second or third. So he's going to be value. But I'm saying that he could potentially finish in the top 10. But do not overpay. I'm not saying pay. Again, my lists are different from the mainstream. I don't just say, here's a list, draft it. Draft him at the right ADP. If you do 100 mock drafts, he's coming off in the 5th round every time. Get him in the 5th round or the 4th round. Do not get him in the 1st round. Again, this is my list as of right now, early, feeling it out, based on volume and previous talent. And again, after meeting the guy, I know how competitive he is. I know how he doesn't like the haters. He grew up with the haters, always bugging him, stuff like that. He's got a lot to prove. Everyone making fun of him with this whole draft with Hopkins and obviously being benched with the Cardinals. I think he's got a chip on his shoulder. I think he gets angry, and I think he's in a position where he's going to get a ton of volume. He's going to get all the goal line work for sure. I think he could do some things. So that's my thoughts. Anybody else want to chime in on David? Are we good with that? All right, Gridiron, what's happening?
I think, like, based off what he did early last season before Drake came in and kind of took the role, he was showing some promise coming off the injury. He had 2 touchdowns on the ground and 3 in the air. So I see what you're seeing in terms of what he could possibly bring to Houston.
He's going to be a receiver as well there. He genuinely will be a receiver. He's going to catch the ball since they don't really have a receiver right now. Fuller gets banged up. He's more of a deep threat kind of guy. And then you've got Cobb, kind of plays out of the slot. Could be, something there. I don't know, man. I think that the upside is there. So I got him in at number, what did I have him at number 7. So, all right, guys, let's move on here. Coming in at number 6, I've got him at number 6 comfortably if he doesn't get injured. Again, there's a big if here. Leonard Fournette finished 7th, guys, last year in attempts, 7th in fantasy points PPR, 6th in rushing yards. The guy is the focal point of the Jacksonville Jaguars offense. I think Minshew, they believe in him. Apparently, he's going to be integrated a bit more. Hopefully, they get their wide receivers in sync. Maybe they acquire another wide receiver this year. But I think he's still going to continue to eat. I think he's going to be a workhorse back, predicated he doesn't, again, hurt the hamstring or get some sort of stupid injury again. He should still be solid. And again, I had the Jacksonville Jaguars guy on with me the other day, and he basically said he's got his head on straight. We saw him fighting in the past. Now I've watched his social. He's a family guy. I think he's ready, and I think it's more of like a contract year for him. Jimmy, do you want to chime in? I believe it is a contract year for him, right? He needs some money.
It is contract years
right
all over the place for running backs. But, yes, Fournette is on a contract year. I love him, and I love that volume too. He had 360 touches and targets last year. Huge volume.
Right. I mean, health is the only concern. Now, I think it is. I don't have the stat in front of me, but I think he only had 3 rushing touchdowns. He's going to get more this year. He has to. I think they're coming back behind from a lot of games. But, man, I mean, still, I think the ceiling is still there for Lenny. I call him Lenny. I like him at number 6. Anyone else want to chime in on Leonard? We're good at Gridiron. What's happening?
Yeah. He did have 3 touchdowns. And, I mean, if he bumped that up to 8 to 10, those fantasy numbers are definitely going up. So I see him, if he's adding to his touchdown totals and keeping the yardage about the same, yeah, he's going to be a threat.
Absolutely love him. All right, coming in at number 5, and again, when I go to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you're going to see that there's a couple people missing here, guys. And I'm going to tell you why they're missing. I did a whole video on it. You guys check it out, but I'm going to tell you why they're missing. Coming in at number 5, this may be a little bit high on him, right? I think he could drop down. But again, he only played 13 games, 13th in attempts. He had around 240 attempts, 7 rushing touchdowns, over 1,000 yards. He had 1,150 yards. You guys know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Josh, the dynamic young Jacobs on the Raiders. I see Jeff Clark thumbs up. What's going on, Jeff? What are your thoughts on this? You want to chime in?
Just, again, volume. I'm one of those guys that goes with volume guys. Gruden loves to run the ball. Jacobs is a proven young guy. He's a proven commodity. 2nd year. I'm just expecting big things from him, bottom line.
I'll tell you guys why I'm so high on him, okay? I'll tell you why. Because I had the Raiders guy on. He said his shoulder was bummed since like week 7. He didn't really talk about that, and he played through it. And he still performed relatively well with 13 games. The ceiling is there. They're going to address the wide receiver position, whether they get Judy or Ruggs or whoever they get. Now they've got a receiver. He's going to stretch the field, open things up. So based on last year, he still did okay with that tough circumstance, right? And he's one of those guys that doesn't like to get off the field. Shoulder, so what? Keep me on the field. He's the guy. There's no one else. Like I said, volume. I'm excited. Anybody else want to chime in on this? Josh Jacobs, are you guys comfortable? Miranda, unmute. She had her hand up first, and she's been pretty quiet today. So what's happening?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Sweet. Yeah, I was just going to say, being a rookie, he has a lot of energy. Last year, he rushed for 7 touchdowns and got over 1,000 yards rushing. And I just feel like rookies in general, whenever they get into the NFL, they have a lot of energy and they're excited and they just want to blow up. So
now you are a Raiders fan. I think you're on the last show, and you are a Raiders fan. Am I right?
I am, yes.
So you're honestly not taking any bias here. You genuinely feel he's the guy, right?
I do. Well, just because the Raiders honestly have been so all over the place the past couple of years. We had a couple busts with quarterbacks and running backs, and I feel like Josh Jacobs has been consistent throughout all of last year, especially towards the end of the season. Gruden was giving him the ball more, and he was performing more towards the end. So I feel like he's our guy.
All right. No, I appreciate that. All right. So Josh Jacobs at 5. Coming at number 4. Now, I was high on him. Jay, I see someone raising their hand. Jay, do you want to chime in there real quick? We got another Jay Clark. Not Jeff Clark, Denzel. We got Jay Clark.
The other Clark.
Yeah, what's happening, Clark?
Yeah, one thing I would like to say is he was injured week 7 with a fractured shoulder.
Right.
And they pulled him a lot of times on third down because of pass protection. He wasn't able to do it. So this year he'll be healthy going into it. I anticipate seeing him on third down. I think the receiving yards, PPR will go up for Josh Jacobs. So, yeah, I'm real high on him this year.
Yeah, I agree. What fan are you of? What's your team? You have a team?
Minnesota Vikings. I live here in Minnesota.
Oh, you're not going to like me after this
episode. Sir. I got a plan, though, and I want you to hear it.
Yeah, because I think your buddy Dalvin might not have made my top 10, but we still got a couple more spots. Hold on. All right, coming in number 4, Derrick Henry, guys. Now, listen, I'm a little more high. I'm one of those guys that likes to ride the train when it's hot. I did it with a bunch of players. Gurley, I got him, dumped him off the year. We kind of went down. Kareem Hunt had him on the hot year. I kind of know when to hold him, know when to fold him. I got number 4. I got Derrick Henry here. Now, listen. I like him. Lewis is gone. Deion Lewis is gone. He's proven to be the workhorse. I think he just signed a franchise tender over $10.2 million. There's a chance they may sign him on fully. Listen, number 1 in rushing last year. That's it. 16 touchdowns. He's an absolute beast. My concern, again, is that whole mentality of what goes up must come down. But I think Derrick Henry continues to eat, and I think he's going to still be the top guy. So I got him at number 4. He could easily be number 1, or he can easily just fall off, right? But I'm going to go with the fact that he's proven himself. He's gotten in the groove. Tannehill's back. That offense is in the groove. I like him. Derrick Henry, comfortable at number 4. But again, what goes up must come down. Is he going to replicate those numbers? I highly doubt it. I was higher on him last year than I do feel this year. So I'm a little bit doubting because, again, everybody's now going to ride Derrick Henry. He was outside of the top 10 last year, guys. Outside of the top 10 last year. And I was saying, guys, he talked to his old mentor, Eddie George. He's the guy. He's been studying. This was a do or die year for him, literally, whether like he's going to get paid or not. And he had to succeed. He had to impose his will on defenders. I did all the studying in the off season, and I saw this, and people are like, you're crazy, Joe. Derrick Henry sucks, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I like him ahead of Le'Veon Bell. I know Joe getting to a straitjacket. You're crazy. You're nuts. Sure enough, he proved everybody wrong. I got him at number 4. Anybody want to chime in on Henry? Anybody at all? We got Jeff Clark. What's happening, man? What do you think?
I can't believe I got this guy in an auction draft for $13. People spent like $40 on Le'Veon Bell. Look, he's a throwback. He's a physical specimen.
Right.
The dude is hard to bring down. Bottom line, even against stacked lines, man, he's able to go ahead and get runs after hits. He's hard to bring down. That's the thing about him. And people are going back to running the ball. Right. This guy kind of reminds me a little bit, not as high, but just like the same thing they used to do with Adrian Peterson back in the day when he was a premium back.
Right.
He's hard to bring down. He's going to get volume. He may not be the number 1, but he is definitely going to be within the top 10 again this year. The guy is a top back.
He is a beast, and I love him. I love him. I love his character. I love everything about him. Coming at number 3. So that was Henry at 4. Coming at number 3. Now, here we go. I better put this on gallery view. If you guys are listening in the car, I suggest you basically go to YouTube at Fantasy Football Counselor and watch everyone's reaction. Coming at number 3. And he's three letters for you guys. CMC, number 3. What do you guys think? Now, I've got him a little bit lower because, again, what goes up must come down. Hold on. Everything I say, I back up. Stick with me here. Again, listen, new coaching, new offense, new team. They got Robbie Anderson. They're going to throw more. New quarterback, for God's sakes. Now, I mean, look at his receptions last year. 116 receptions, 471 points. And again, Tim the Bald Guy was on the show. He goes, yeah, Joe, if he drops a little bit, that's okay. 470, I'll take 400 points. Yeah, very possible, but they got to use, if they want to make it deep into the playoffs, they want to win a Super Bowl here, they got to throw the ball. You can't make CMC the focal point, right? It just doesn't work like that. I'm playing chess, and you keep attacking me with one guy. I'm going to see the move. I'm going to take out your one guy. It's simple, right? I play a lot of chess, right? It's good for the brain. If you guys want a game during the time off here, chess is good to get into. But yeah, CMC, you can't just be the only guy there, period. Bottom line, it just doesn't work like that. So I'm curious to hear your feedback because, again, the mainstream all have him at 1 because he finished first last year. But again, we see it every single year. Just because they finished on first last year, they're not going to finish first again this year. It's very rare. Again, last time someone did it, I think back-to-back was Priest Holmes in 2002, 2003. Very rare. Again, he still could finish top 3. Don't get me wrong. And that's why I got him at 3, compensating and, trying to make up for that little bit of decline there. Really curious to hear your thoughts on this, guys. What do we got here? It's let's talk with Jay Clark again, the Vikings fan, who's probably going to interject and say, where's Dalvin Cook?
Well, with the top 10 running backs, I feel like you have to play it safe. And one thing with CMC is you're playing it safe. So with that logic, I wouldn't hesitate to draft him with my first round pick if he fell to me
right
at number 4,
right,
3 or whatever.
Right. Yeah, definitely a top 3 to 4 pick. I mean, at the end of the day, if he's sitting there first, maybe draft him first, trade him if you feel like it. Maybe get a value, right? Maybe get yourself a Josh Jacobs comboed with somebody else later. People will bite on that, right? I mean, who knows, right? So I think I'm comfortable with him at 3, assuming there's going to be a decline. Anybody else want to chime in on CMC at number 3? Jimmy, what's going on, man?
Hey, you got to be real careful with players that are coming off of NFL record-setting seasons like CMC did. You look at the prior year when you had like Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and George Kittle. These guys had these blockbuster seasons, record-setting. The next year, the 2019, their average decline was anywhere from about 15 to 20% per game on what they got on their record-setting season. It's a huge downside risk, and because of that, I'm going to avoid. If I have the first pick, I'm definitely not picking CMC. That's the only way you're going to be able to get him. So I would stay away.
Thanks for that insight, Jimmy. That's really good insight to know. Again, coming off such a pinnacle year, very, very hard to replicate that. Coming at number 2 here, guys. Again, I'm torn on this one again. Who's number 1, who's number 2, but I got to put him in here because, again, he's always a top 5 finisher. Any way you slice it, any way you dice it, and always a big attempts guy. He always gets a lot of attempts. Any way you slice it, any way you dice it. He's getting 300 attempts. Now, I had the Cowboys guy on Laws Nation, and again, Pollard could be an issue for him, but number 2, I got Zeke Elliott. Listen, Zeke's still going to be the guy. He's solid. He's consistent. He's durable, knock on wood. He is the guy. And again, listen, the Cowboys paid a lot of money to have him. They're going to utilize him. That's it. Number 2 in attempts last year, 4th in rushing, 12 touchdowns, 2 receiving touchdowns. He's going to get it done, man. He's going to get it done consistently week in, week out. He might have a game where he might put you up maybe 10 points. He might have a down game. It's very possible. But again, if you want that guy that's a plug and play, solid every single week, mid-range RB1 with some upside of high-end RB1, Zeke's just there. I'm really curious to hear you guys' thoughts on this. Are you comfortable with him at number 2? Anybody? MGT, I'm going to unmute and let's hear you.
Yeah, so last year he came into the season. He's very out of shape, and he acknowledged this. So I think this year he's going to train hard, especially with this situation we have going on. And
right.
Rushing still out of shape like he was, that's pretty insane. I think he's going to finish 2nd.
Yeah, I mean, they got some receivers too, right? They've got some great receivers this year. Amari, now he's paid, incentivized. I think Gallup comes back. There's even buzz. I was reading in the news. Jimmy, maybe you've been hearing something or anyone else, Gridiron. I heard that they are looking to try to draft another ace wide receiver to complement, to have that 3-headed monster at wide receiver. Did anybody hear anything about that? We got to get the Cowboys guy back on, but that's what they're thinking of doing. So, again, tons of volume there for him as a running back. Pollard's going to come in. He's going to get his fair share of the workload. Zeke goes off for a big run. He's got to come back. He's got to rest. God forbid any injuries happen. And I got him at number 2. Anyone else want to chime in on Zeke before we go to number 1? Are we good? All right, NFL Junkie, chime in on Zeke, please.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Yeah, so for me, a 2, you had him a 2, right?
Yep.
And for me, it doesn't cut. It has to be about 4. At 2, I have CMC. It's just because I think he's going to regress a little bit on the touchdowns, and I think Pollard's going to take the step to about 40% of the balls in the game.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's going to be the future of that team. I know they're paying Zeke right now, but he's not going to be the future. And they have a new coaching staff. They're going to be airing the ball a lot. Gallup is going to be a top 10 to 15 receiver. Cooper's going to get his. I just don't think Zeke is going to get the touchdowns this year. He might get some of the red zone targets, but I don't think it's going to be much. I think it's going to be Pollard stepping up a little bit this year.
No, I like that debate. I do like the debate. The only thing I got to say to that, again, they want to win. They got to put their best foot forward. And that's why, if I want to race, I'm bringing the Lambo every week, instead of he's just a better running back than Pollard. But definitely I can see them throwing a lot more this year. And that's why I'm kind of hesitating taking them. So definitely good points. I am a little more aware of them. I'm going to be watching what they do in the draft. If they definitely get that third receiver, I mean, that could also work for him and against him because they may want to just throw the ball more, and that's kind of in their mindset. Again, Dak Prescott, maybe he wants to look a little more flashy to get his deal, right? I got to air the ball out, look a little bit more, flashy just to, they got to pay the guy. So, yeah, man, I have some question marks. I'm going to be watching this heavily during the draft, and then maybe if there's any training. Jeff wants to chime in here. Go ahead, Jeff. You got you.
I do want to say one thing because those are still two big things. I mean, I like Zeke. He is a constant. But whatever happens, if something doesn't pan out with Zeke, and we're also still looking at that offensive line with Fredericks just retiring, man, there's still some holes in that line that they haven't addressed yet.
Right.
And that line is one big thing that actually helps Zeke a lot. So that's why I'm looking on that. I mean, I'd still take him, top 4 or 5. I don't know if I'm taking him, number 2. I'd actually look at Henry a little bit more than Zeke. That's just me.
I think the ceiling could be higher for Henry. Again, this is switching around. It's like one of those 6 of this, half dozen or another. All right, let's go to number 1 here and drum roll. And then we're going to get into why, because I'm going to probably hear, there's not so much from you, but people commenting below, why Nick Chubb and why, what's his face, Dalvin Cook's not in here. All right, so let's hear it. It's funny because they're not showing up on my list, but usually they don't show up to games. Well, Dalvin Cook doesn't because he's always hurt. Sorry, Jay Clark. I had to buzz that in there. All right, number 1 I got, and it's not Dalvin Cook, by the way. It's Saquon Barkley. Listen, I love this guy. I think the talent is there. I think Daniel Jones in the second year is going to tear it up. 10th in PPR last year, 13 games, over 1,000 rushing yards, banged up O-line. Quarterback had question marks. They didn't have any goddamn wide receivers because Sterling Shepard was hurt the whole time. I mean, the team was a mess. I mean, give this guy a break. Again, rookie quarterback, getting into the groove. Again, no O-line, no wide receivers, banged up. And he still managed to get what? 6 touchdowns on the ground, over 1,000 yards, and finished 10th. He finished 10th in PPR, guys, with these rough circumstances. You threw anyone else in that situation, I don't think it'd be the same type of situation. And he's got a chip on his shoulder, meaning like, hey, last year was crap. I get it. I underperformed. CMC stepped up. And again, I don't know how these guys think, but I'm assuming if they're professional athletes, they're very competitive. And if CMC outdid me, I'm going to outdo him this year. And if anyone's going to do it via talent, via ability, via special talent, via the biggest quads on the planet, it's going to be Saquon Barkley. Really like to hear everybody, everybody's feedback on this one. Am I wrong on this one? Do you guys see him, CMC going like this a little bit and Saquon going up above? Really curious to hear your thoughts. Who do we start with here? Let's go with NFL Junkie. You were first there. Can you unmute and go ahead, please?
Hey, so I'll go CMC first anyways. I don't mind Saquon. It just all depends on Daniel Jones, what he's going to do. I think the whole offense is going to run through him this year. Is not going to be Saquon. He's going to try to throw it. He's that kind of quarterback.
Right.
They got a lot of weapons, underrated weapons, kind of like Golden Tate and all those guys. They're all underrated and all short targets in the slot. I see CMC being first, Saquon second, but, I can put both a first. For me, they're about the same. So
Right.
I kind of agree with you, but I think it's going to all depend on Daniel Jones.
All right. Thank you. Coin flip there. I think Miranda, I saw your hand come up. I don't know if it was second or third, but let's get Miranda on the phone here.
Yeah, sure. Just a quick note. I was just going to say that I think he's going to have more volume this year until they figure out the wide receiver situation. Like you mentioned, Sterling Shepard, he was hurt half the season. And I actually had him on my fantasy team as like a backup wide receiver, and that ended up screwing my team too. But I think that until they figure out the whole wide receiver situation, that they're going to be feeding him the ball way more. So.
Right. I think that I just had the Giants guy on. He said they're going to address the O-line before they look at wide receiver in the draft. But either way, that should help open things up for Saquon Barkley. So anyone else want to chime in on the first overall pick? Any debates, how you feel about it? And then we'll get to a Q&A. We got Gridiron. He's got a question. What's up, Grid?
Yeah, I'm wearing a Saquon jersey right now, so I'm good with it. I have CMC at 1. But like you said, with him being injured and him still hitting that 1,000-yard mark, I think he was hitting at something like 5.5 or 5.6 yards a carry when he came back late in the season. If you had him late in the season last year, he definitely won you some playoff weeks.
Yeah.
So I can see him taking the crown this year. Like, it's a coin flip when you look at him and CMC. So
yeah, barring any injury, I mean, 4.6 yards per carry for the year. Again, he's just producing, man. 52 receptions. I think in his pinnacle year, the year before, I think he was around the 90 reception kind of guy. And I think that was the difference between the new quarterback and missing a few games. Again, you're looking at around 70 receptions there and well over 1,000-yard season. And again, only 6 touchdowns. So I'm expecting that to go up as well for Saquon this year significantly. I mean, the ceiling is high. He's just too exciting not to take first overall. And that's how I look at it. So, all right, I'm going to open this up to questions. And again, you can talk about Saquon if you want, but let's just open it up to questions. And I saw Jeff, a.k.a. Denzel, come up first. What's going on, man?
This one thing I have out there that I wanted to say, is anybody leery? I'm always leery about first-time head coaches, especially when they're guys that you haven't heard of that much, with Judge over at with the Giants, and then Rule with the Panthers. Those are the things that scare me. I like to stick with coaches that know what they're doing with the roster that they have. These guys, they have 2 superstars, but do they know what to do as far as will they put everything on their shoulders? That's a lot of times leads to injury. What do you guys think about that?
Anybody want to chime in on what Jeff said there? Gridiron has his hand up. What's happening, Grids? What do you think?
Yeah, so I read earlier today, just kind of just going right to Jeff's point, like, who are these new head coaches? And Rule brought in, let me see here, he brought in Joe Brady from LSU. And Joe Brady likes to take care of the running backs there. I think he was running at a target, or targeting running backs at about 20%. And we all saw how LSU performed last year. So I think in terms of how McCaffery is going to see his production, I think it's going to stay pretty stable.
Right. Yeah, I mean, with the new coaching, it's definitely going to affect them. We've seen new coaching affect players. Kingsbury, David Johnson. Nobody's anybody's darling in football, man. It's just like, win me games and do it for me right, and that's it, man. Anyone else want to chime in on any other questions with running back related situation, top 10? And then also I want to address, actually before we get into that, address why Dalvin Cook and Nick Chubb aren't in the top 10 where they are in the mainstream. Listen,
Will Fuller of running.
Who's got the, someone's got the, can you guys mute yourselves, please? I heard somebody. Yeah, but again, Dalvin Cook, I just don't see him in the top 10 this year, especially because he hasn't finished a season. Easily could be in the top 10. But again, Madison was drafted for a reason. I don't think he can be ignored. Dalvin Cook has already threatened to hold out if he doesn't get paid what he thinks he should be paid, which is a lot of money. And we've seen Le'Veon Bell fail, David Johnson, Devontae Freeman, who just got released, and Todd Gurley, who kind of went down after the big contract. And I don't know. I just don't believe Dalvin Cook's going to do it, man. Again, hasn't finished a season. If he finished a season, I'd consider it. But he hasn't. I mean, we went from what? 2017, he played 4 games. And the year after, I think he played 11 games. So it was the torn ACL. Then it was the hamstring in 2018. And after that, this past year, he basically missed 2 games and half of 2 other games with shoulder and chest. I don't trust him. I mean, do you guys trust him? Really curious to hear your Dalvin Cook. Is anyone else? Jim, I'm really curious. Do you have him in your top 10? Really want to hear your feedback on this.
Well, I do like the fact that it is a contract year for Dalvin Cook, and I got to say there are examples of injury-prone running backs who on a contract year go and absolutely annihilate it. Doug Martin, no Sean Marino. These guys are guys like Dalvin Cook that were very disappointing. And then it comes in on their contract year. The guys are monsters. They put together a monster season. They get the big payday, and then they go right back to what they were before. So I'm willing to take a bet on that. I mean, it's a run-first team that's got a competent quarterback. I think that Dalvin Cook has a real good opportunity to outperform his draft position this year. So I'm actually up on Dalvin Cook.
So where do you have him ranked in your top 10?
I have him probably around 4th or 5th. I wouldn't take him with the top 3, but I'd take him there, and that's where you're going to need to take him if you want him. So
I'm not paying that for a guy who hasn't finished a season. Sorry, I'm not going to do it. But yeah, I definitely see why he could. And then again, Nick Chubb. I just did a video, guys. Check it out. The last video I did. I did actually Nick Chubb. I talked about it in my story more on Instagram, but I've done a video on why not to draft Nick Chubb and Dalvin Cook together as one video. You guys got to go back and find that on YouTube. But again, I mean, at the end of the season, his production went down in regards to fantasy points. He only had 2 games out of the whole games he played with Kareem Hunt, where he had 2 games where he performed as an RB1. Other than that, man, he had like a 5-pointer in there, a 3-point game. It was ridiculous. Kareem Hunt was stealing the PPR volume, and he's going to continue to steal that if he stays there. So that's the reason I am staying away from everything Nick Chubb. Jeff, do you want to weigh in there?
Yeah. Well, going back to Cook as well, nobody's really talking about the absence of Diggs, and that's the one thing I'm wondering about as well. He's going to be on that other side to stretch the field now. That could be a problem with Cook as well as injury. So I want to see if now that defenses can really concentrate on one side of the field, if they're going to start putting another linebacker up there around the box to go ahead and stop him from. And then again, there's a threat of hold down. All those 3 things kind of gives me a little bit of questions. I think he might still be in the top 10, but yeah, he's nowhere close to a top 5.
And he catches the ball out of the backfield, right? And he runs off to the sides a lot. I saw that. So if one side, I mean, you got an extra safety or someone who's not covering Diggs or something like that, right? You have a weak one side and he tries to run to that side, he's just going to get stomped on. So I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting to see. The draft is going to answer a lot of questions. And I'm glad the NFL draft is happening as per planned. Good signs that an NFL season could be happening this year. Any other questions here, guys? With running backs, Miranda, what is happening? Let's hear it.
What do you think about James Conner? Because I know he dropped off last year, but in 2018 he rushed for 937 yards and had 12 rushing touchdowns. So do you think that he could bring that back this year, or what are your thoughts on that?
Definitely. Good question. And definitely if he stays healthy. Now, again, the question is he going to stay healthy? We've seen injuries in the past. And is he going to be the workhorse? They like to run a full workhorse there with Big Ben back. Again, are the receivers going to be good enough to distract the defenses? It's a big question mark. But again, if you look at the top 10 list and you see guys that could come in and crack the top 10, when we look at it next year, like, oh man, this guy wasn't a top 10. He cracked it. And everyone's going to be riding his train, or whatever you want to call it. He is one of those guys that could. He's not personally on my radar, but I mean, I think that offense is going to be a lot better with Big Ben coming back. And that's why I got Deontay Johnson as a sleeper as of right now. I like the offense. It should be interesting. And yeah, definitely very possible if he stays healthy, he could crack that top 10. Great question.
Okay. Do you think he would be like a good RB3, RB4?
Yeah, definitely. If you can get him in the 3rd round, yeah, I mean, you get yourself a Henry round 1. I mean, round 2, if you can sneak and get even like a David Johnson and a Connor, I mean, who knows, right? I mean, it depends on how the ADPs fall. I don't know when people are going to be taking him. I'm assuming he's going to be coming off late 2nd round is kind of my guess right now, because people want to secure their running backs. And they may wait. They get, they're going to get the top 5 running backs. They're going to get a bunch of wide receivers, and they may consider him on the turn if it's a 12-person league at the end of round 2, early round 3. So I think he could be good value, and he's got the top 10 potential. I'm just having a hard time trusting him. So make sure you watch to see who's in that committee. Jay Clark, what's happening, man? You got a question?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that I have 2 running backs that weren't mentioned, and I feel like they're going to be workhorses based on the trades that have already gone on this year.
For sure.
The two backs I'm talking about is Kenyon Drake and Eckler. I feel that with David Johnson gone, that puts Kenyon Drake right into a workhorse role, and he was used heavily the last 8 games of the year and was a top 10 PPR back. And the same thing with Eckler before Melvin Gordon came on, top 10 PPR back who's now thrown into a workhorse role. And I feel like these guys are going way too late with their average draft positions. So I'm high on both these two, and I'm looking forward to getting some steals in the draft, hopefully getting both RBs.
Great question, man. I'm so glad you brought that up. Definitely these two guys are two wild cards, but they could also play under fool's gold, which I like to call. They could be the Damian Williams of this year, or they could be a top 3 running back. I love the upside of Kenyon Drake a little more than Eckler. Eckler is good, but I genuinely feel they're going to have to bring someone else to complement him. He's not a big run through the tackles kind of guy. What did he have, like 132 rushing attempts? I don't see him being the guy. I mean, years behind Melvin Gordon, never emerged past Melvin Gordon. You can kind of make a debate last year. I get it. But I just don't see him being that workhorse running back. If you invest him as an RB1, I'd be a little cautious. Maybe as an RB2 or 3 on your team, possibly, especially in PPR formats. Love him. But again, I'm still not sold on him being the guy. Same with Kenyon Drake, because we only saw that window into the end of the season where Drake kind of performed really well. Again, we saw him as a backup. He was never a premier guy with Miami, always a backup. You know, I kind of have that mentality. Once a backup, always a backup. Kind of like if you know Hollywood, right? It's like they say, if you're an extra, you're kind of an extra. You're known as an extra. You're never going to be the star guy. I rarely see someone come off of being a bench player, being a top guy. And this was the same warning I warned you guys about Damian Williams. I'm like, I love Damian. He's on KC. I'm like, no. Damian Williams, be cautious. Years to wow me. I'm not wowed. So it would be almost an anomaly if he has a breakout amazing season. I don't know if I'm worth taking that risk, but I'd like to hear what you guys say on that. Zachary, what's happening? Can you unmute and let us know what your thoughts are?
Well, can I talk about Miles Sanders for a second?
Yeah, I love Miles Sanders. Devin Singletary. Any one of these guys can easily crack the top 10. But again, before you get into that, I think all these guys are going to be complimented. At least 50%. At least 2 of these 4 guys are going to have another running back drafted, and it's going to be a committee before the season hits. But as it sits right now, I love all 4 of their opportunities. What were you going to say about Sanders, though? Please.
So with Jordan Howard gone for good now, I think that since he was in a committee last year and he still thrived. I mean, Jordan Howard was injured, but he still thrived. He had a great season. I drafted him, and I was happy. I kept him the whole season. Right. But I think he has a lot of room right now. I think he's going to have a great season. I have him at number 7 on my list. I know you were kind of up in the air at number 10, but I think that he's in the top 10 for sure.
It's an exciting year because, again, we got these wild cards. I mean, this is why I love to load up in the first 3 rounds on running backs. Just load up on these guys, and you're going to be solid because there's going to be a ton of depth at wide receiver. You can get a ton of value. It's going to be unbelievable. We're going to load up. That's why I talk about 16-round draft solution, guys. I'm going to lay this out perfectly so you guys have the optimal roster. A couple more questions, and we'll wrap this up, guys. Top 10 running backs 2020. MSTS, I think I saw your hand come up, and you've been pretty quiet. Let's hear what you got to say. MGT, is it?
Yeah, so you said earlier that you could see a rookie cracking the top 10. So what would be your ideal destination for someone like a Taylor or Swift?
Oh, man, that's a good question. I haven't put too much thought into it. I got to see where they land, and, man, that's a tough situation. I haven't really put too much thought about it right now. If you guys can chime in on that, I don't want to say something and then not happen. My only question, Jimmy, maybe if you have an answer to this, but here's my thought. I just think that they may land in – I've looked at situations where they may land that might not benefit them. For example, if they land on Miami, yikes. You know what I mean? I want them to land in good situations. I haven't really thought out where they're landing yet. I do look at the mock drafts and stuff, but I don't really believe in some of these NFL draft mock drafts until it actually happens. It's like hypothetical, right? Where they land, then I'm going to know. But again, I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't given it too much thought in regards to, I just wait to see where they land. Then I start analyzing. You know, it's more of a hypothetical thing that I haven't looked at as of right now. Jimmy, do you have an idea on, I think you wanted to chime in here. Where do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously for Swift, man, if he ends up with on Kansas City, that would be the ultimate ideal placement for him. and just immediate running back one impact there. So that's where I hope he actually ends up. But I wouldn't mind if he ends up on the Dolphins, because I bet you'd be able to get him for a bargain in the draft, like a 4th, 5th round pick.
Right. No, I thought about the Chiefs actually, because he's the most complete back, pass catching back. But again, I still think Damian might be a little bit of a thorn there, might be a little annoying. But yeah, that is a perfect home for Swift, being one of the most complete backs in the draft completely. So that is a perfect home for him. Any other questions, guys? Jay Clark, the Vikings fan. Hey, man, take it easy on me, man. I don't want Dalvin Cook in the top 10.
You know what? Back to injury prone. I agree. You know, he hasn't played a full season, and that scares me. I wouldn't waste a 1st-round draft pick on someone who's injured year in, year out.
Right.
If he slid to the 7th pick, yeah, I'd pick him up, only knowing that I would go cuff Alexander Madison 8th or 9th round in a 10-team league. Knowing that I would lock in the Viking backfield. One thing I do want to say is, what is wrong with San Francisco 49ers? How do they not see the value in Raheem Mostert? I mean,
right.
The guy plays lights out when he's on the field, but yet they keep going Coleman in this committee backfield. I'm tired of it. And I see that Mostert is the best back in San Francisco.
He is. I just got to go back for 1 second. You said that you want to draft Dalvin Cook and get Madison as a backup. Now, here's my thought to that. I would rather get, let's say, a Josh Jacobs later in that round and get Madison later. That way, when Cook does go down, and he will, now I've got 2 running backs that are RB1s. And that's kind of the mentality, I think. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to waste a pick on Cook. That's when everyone says, well, you get Madison later. Well, why? I can still get myself an ace running back first and get Madison later. You know, I hate to say, but in the hopes when Cook goes down, I can use Madison. But, right. I mean, I don't hope anything, but that anyone gets injured. But I'm saying, based on the history 3 years in a row, I'd rather get Madison later and get another running back first. That's number one. And number two, I don't know what the 49ers are thinking. I mean, I guess they don't want to run by a workhorse running back. They just kind of go with that committee. But Mostert has proven himself. Hopefully they use him more. And that's another guy you can get as an RB3 with some upside that could maybe crack the top 10. You never know, right? Another wild card. It's an exciting year for running backs this year. I can't wait to see the fallout here after the draft. So very, very exciting. All right, guys, I appreciate you coming on. I think, Miranda, I know you kept coming up there with your hand, so I don't want to miss your question. What was your question there, please?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I know you aren't super high on Nick Chubb because Kareem Hunt's back in the picture and everything, but do you think he would be a good flex position? Yeah,
I think he'd be solid. The only problem is, again, for his ADP, he's going to be drafted in the 1st round. And people, this is what bothers me. I could be wrong. He could be a top 3 running back, okay? But what bothers me is the mentality. It's such a stupid, stubborn, idiotic mentality. They're thinking in their mind, and this is what frustrates me. And tell me if you guys feel what I'm feeling here. But what I'm feeling is people are going to draft him thinking he's the same Nick Chubb. Kareem Hunt's nothing there. Kareem Hunt was a top rusher a couple of years ago. Why are you ignoring how good Kareem Hunt really is? And he stole a couple receiving touchdowns. Again, in the mentality, it's a broken system. I'm going to draft this guy because he performed really well last year. I'm going to draft him high up because he finished there. It's a stupid mentality. This was the same situation with Le'Veon Bell. I was screaming, Le'Veon Bell will not perform. Oh, but Joe, Le'Veon Bell is one of the best running backs. Look what he did this year. And he's not on the goddamn Steelers anymore. It's this backwards thinking. It's got to stop. And that's why my brand is going to take over this year. And I'm changing the game because this is 20-year-old thinking. This is like playing Atari when PlayStation 5's coming out. This is the mentality with fantasy football, and it's going to goddamn change. Sorry, Gridiron, you really want to say something in this last question, please? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I just wanted to get in on that, talking about Chubb. He's really going to have a lot of TDs vultured from him, especially, like you said, from Hunt.
Yeah.
And there's even more mouths to feed now when they went out and got Hooper.
Right.
So, I mean, with him, he is a top 5 back in the NFL if he gets to run. But he's not going to have the ball. Games last year where he did go off, he had a lot of volume. And then in the last 4 games, or especially when Hunt came back at about the bye week, week 8 when he was off suspension, you see his production just go downhill right from there. So yes, you want to draft him because he has the talent, but he's not going to have the opportunity.
Yeah, and you've got the diva, Odell. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. How is he going to give him the ball if he's rushing the whole time? So Odell's going to demand the ball. Now, I'm not high on Odell again this year, but he's going to demand the ball a lot more. And again, you're going to have Hooper taking some receiving touchdowns as well. They got a lot of weapons. I'm just not sold on Baker Mayfield. That's a whole other topic. All right, guys, we got to wrap this up. Sorry, I got to just wrap it up. I know, Junkie, go ahead. One more question. That's it. I know you go ahead, NFL Junkie.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I'll draft Chubb if it's at the end of the first, but I'm going to grab Hunt. I'm not a big fan of handcuffing, but Hunt can be a flex play.
Right.
Now, if one of them goes down, we have a guaranteed guy there to be top 10. I think Odell sucks. Mayfield sucks. Hooper's not going to do good on this team.
Right.
So I think they're going to concentrate more on the running part. And if you draft both, you'll be fine. If you draft one, you got to look to trade Chubb away if you drafted him and try to get another guy on the, as a workhorse. But again, if you're going to draft Chubb, draft Hunt and you'll be safe.
Thank you. Good point. Both of them could be viable every single week, but here's the problem. This is what I think. I want to maximize every position. So what I look for, guys, is instead of having two running backs that are going to give me half the volume, I try to aim for an RB1 in that flex position with more upside to really maximize the roster. Again, I'm really obsessed with who my running backs are. That's why I like to get those three workhorses early so that I maximize each position. Then I'll get some sleepers like Madison. If Cook goes down, now all of a sudden, guys, I've got 4 RB1s. You guys see the mentality? Kind of what I'm doing. Hopefully that makes sense. But I'm obsessed with just getting those RB1s locked and loaded with the volume getters. All right, guys. Thank you for being here. What's that? What was that? What were you saying?
I just want to say one quick important thing on that.
Go ahead.
People think Chubb is going to start. You don't know. You have a brand new head coach there. Hunt might come out as being the starter. So you've got to be careful in that whole situation.
And I'm going to be honest with you, and I hate to say it because I think Chubb's a great guy, probably a nice person. We're talking fantasy. And I'd rather be, as a person, I probably like Chubb more than Kareem Hunt based on what's happened. Kareem Hunt endorsed my brand years ago. But I think Kareem Hunt is a better running back. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe not a pure runner down the middle, but more of a versatile runner, strong. Yeah, good point. Jeff, I'm glad you brought that up. It's anybody's game, man. The same thing with Philip Lindsay. If Philip Lindsay thinks he's got a chance on Melvin Gordon, he came out. If you guys don't know, Philip Lindsay said, hey, I'm fighting for that starting job. I'm not going to let somebody come take my job here in Denver. If Philip Lindsay thinks he's got a chance with Melvin Gordon, Kareem Hunt can easily take the job over, Chubb. I mean, very possible and very good point. I'm glad you said that. All right, guys, thank you for being here. By the way, quick feedback. Do you guys like this? Is it a good experience? Is it cool coming on?
Very cool.
Yeah, we got.
I very much appreciate you having me on, Counselor. Thank you.
Last year we had millions of downloads. We're working like #1 podcast in regards to content. I mean, I'm crushing it for you guys. So lots of views. So I'm trying to get you guys on, get some visibility for yourselves, for your brands, just helping people out. Because again, nobody really gave me that shot or really helped me. If I can lift people up with me, that's great. But yeah, I appreciate it, guys. And I know you guys are out there hustling. Most of you guys are entrepreneurs. Most of you guys are just fans. Keep grinding. And again, I appreciate everybody's input coming on today. You guys made for a great show. And people love the running back show, so it should get a lot of views, and people are going to hopefully chime in. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. And make sure you guys all subscribe. If you're listening, leave a comment. Do you guys like the list? Thank you, guys. And we are out.